Wow. Amazing productivity, window tiling, fine-grained customization and colors. This is an amazing desktop. Let's look at this more. Hey guys, today we're going to be taking a look at Pop! OS 24.04 Cosmic Alpha 7. Now, the main focus of this video is going to be the new Cosmic desktop, but we will look at some of the other Pop! OS features too while we're at it. But the main focus is the new Cosmic desktop. Now, I'm not sure when the beta is going to be coming out. As of now, I'm recording this as of June 2025, and the beta could be coming probably this year, hopefully soon. Hopefully it's going to be out in production this year, but it's been in development for a really long time. Now, the desktop environment we're going to be looking at today is the Rust-based Cosmic desktop. It's entirely rewritten. Don't confuse this with the with System 76 old GNOME-based desktop. So in the current long-term support version of Pop! OS, they have a GNOME-based desktop that has some extensions and customizations, and they call that Cosmic. That's their old GNOME-based desktop. This is the new rewrite. This is the new Rust-based Cosmic desktop, the one that everybody is excited about. So this alpha version of Pop! OS, this is the new desktop that everyone's excited about, the Rust-based Cosmic desktop. This new desktop is developed and created from scratch by System 76, the creators of Pop! OS. They also create Linux. They also sell laptops and PCs with Pop! OS pre-installed. So this new desktop is Rust-based, and it uses the iced GUI library. The display server is Wayland, no X11 for this version. The previous version, the current long-term support, is using X11. For this alpha version, they have switched to Wayland only. Now, the display manager that you see here is the Cosmic Greeter. So that's why I'm still on the login screen. This is the Cosmic Greeter. It looks pretty nice and slick. And we're going to log right in here right now. So here we go, just logged in. And I have NeoFetch running, so you can kind of see the system that I'm running this on. And first thing I want to point out here is that, so I have an Intel i7 CPU. It's a few years old, but not too ancient. Now my GPU is an NVIDIA GPU, much older. And actually have more RAM than this. It should be, okay, this is how much is being, anyways. So one thing to note, important thing, Pop! OS gives you two ISO images you can download. There's the NVIDIA image, and then there's the non-NVIDIA image. The NVIDIA image is going to have the NVIDIA drivers pre-installed, and that's great if you have an NVIDIA card, but if you read carefully on their site, it's for NVIDIA cards that are newer than this card. So this card is older than the CPU and the rest of the system, and apparently this card is old enough that the NVIDIA version of the Pop! OS ISO is it doesn't support this. So the drivers that come pre-installed on that won't work for this version of my NVIDIA card. And I had all sorts of problems with that because I didn't read. And when I went back and checked it, I realized that was the issue. And that's why using the non-NVIDIA version works great with my NVIDIA card. I just had to pay attention to what they were actually saying on the downloads page and actually read it. So first thing, I actually did not have to set up scaling on this in the previous version of Pop! OS. So I have a 4K display here, and in the previous version, I set up scaling for the UI elements. Here, it's working pretty. I think the scaling is pretty nice, and it works pretty well. Depending on how small of a screen you're watching this YouTube video on, if you're watching it on your phone, some of the text in the terminal might be too small. But in any case, these elements are perfect for desktop, and I think they got that right out of the box. So I didn't have to mess around with scaling or anything like that. Now, there's a few things. I should probably look at some of the themes and wallpapers first before I get into the bar. So one of the things we're going to show you in a little bit later is tiling. So tiling the bar and some of the ways you can switch things, some of the shortcuts, stuff like that. And before I forget, if you want to lock the desktop, they have a new shortcut for this. I've had some Linux systems. You can do the super or Windows key in L to lock it, just like on Windows. Ubuntu was working with GNOME was doing that. Linux Mint with the Cinnamon desktop. I needed to do Alt Control L, so you could do Windows L, Alt Control L, but in the Pop OS desktop, it is Windows key Escape to lock your desktop, which I always do. I don't want to click on it with my mouse, so that is just something worth pointing out. So this desktop makes heavy use of things like tiling and shortcuts and stuff like that. So it's worth learning the shortcuts. I'm not completely sold on tiling. It is really neat, and you can do some pretty neat things like stacking windows. We're going to show you how to do that. And for certain workflows, tiling is perfect. For most day-to-day stuff, I like to keep them free, but this lets you control that on a desktop by desktop basis. And it's a pretty nice desktop. I'm actually really happy with this. So before we get into any of that, let's take a look at the settings really quick. So I'm going to right click here and say change wallpaper. I don't know if I even want to change the wallpaper. I like this wallpaper right off the bat here, but let's just change it for the sake of changing it. All right, so we got a nice looking wallpaper here. It doesn't come with a lot of wallpapers. I would have thought there would be more, but yeah, nice picture of a planet here. Now let's switch it back to this one. I'm going to stick with this for the video. So wallpaper fit, standard stuff here, nothing too exciting. Show the wallpaper on all displays. You can do a slideshow, all the things you might expect. Now keep in mind, this whole thing is alpha. Things might not be perfect, but most things should be working pretty nicely at this point, I think. I poked around with this a little bit. It seems to be working pretty nice. They have a running list of issues they're working on if you check their site, so it isn't production ready. So I could click on this over here. All right, so scale, it's at 200% already. I don't believe I clicked on that myself. 4K desktop, orientation, etc., etc. So let's take a look at, I'm just going to right click on the desktop. And okay, that context menu is under the settings here. That's not right. I can right click. Okay, that's not right at all. Okay, maybe that's a bug. I don't know. That's kind of funny. Okay, the context menu, when I right click the desktop, pops under that. Okay. All right, that's interesting. It pops under the window. That shouldn't be happening at all. Anyways, I'm going to go to desktop appearance. Okay, I guess that corresponds to the desktop thing under here. And there's a bunch of things you can change. All right, so here's the light. This is too much on my eyes. I can't deal with this. But if you like a light theme, you can do that, or you can just switch to dark. So the basic themes are light and dark, and I believe they're supposed to have all sorts of other themes where you can change the look and feel of things. Now you have the accent color, this blue thing here. I'd like to change that a bit. I'm thinking. And you can, this thing around the active window, this square, you can make this smaller too. So we'll take a look at that too. And you can turn it off altogether if you like. Real quick, if you want to turn that off, active hint, you can turn that off and it won't give you a hint for the active desktop. I'm going to leave that on for now just because it's a prominent thing and I'm just getting used to it. I kind of like it. If I get tired of it, I might turn it off. I'm thinking orange is nice, and I kind of thinking like green what might be a nice color too. Maybe I'll add like a custom color here and do something like this. You know what, that's a bit much. Maybe if I make it a little bit darker, maybe a little bit in between. That's kind of nice. It's a little bit much. Yeah, should I? Green is kind of cool. Look, that is actually kind of cool. The text looks nice in green. I think I could live with that. Although orange is nice too. Maybe we stick with orange for now and switch to green later. Container background. All right. Application or window background. You can change a lot of things. You have some nice control over these things. I don't really. Okay, that's not. Okay, that is interesting. That's like changing the whole theme. That is pretty neat. I could see setting that. Oh wow, that is crazy. That's pretty nice. That I could see. This is exactly the level of control I would want in. Wow, that's crazy. Okay. I'm not sure how to set that to default other than just setting it to something like this. Okay, but that all right. You know what? Maybe I'll stick with maybe. I'm not sure. I almost want to stick with that. All right, let's stick with this. It's a little weird looking, but let's stick with this. This is something unique. That is some crazy control, direct control over all the colors of like every component. That is pretty neat. And this whole desktop is great. That's something. All right, I'm surprising myself with this. All right, so you slightly rounded square. Okay, you can make it more square so it matches these. And look at that, the bar at the bottom is square. That's kind of nice. You do slightly rounded. That makes that actually kind of makes sense. Or you can do very rounded. That doesn't affect the windows, but it affects these buttons, the rounded corners on these buttons. So you do very rounded or a little bit rounded, almost no rounding. Okay. Wow. You know what? I'm going to stick with this round for now, but that is pretty cool. All right. Interface density. Okay. There's a lot of things you could, that is kind of neat. Active window hint size. Okay. So the window hint size, this is on 3 right now. You can turn that down. So it's just this light thing circling whatever window is active. I'm actually going to switch that back to 3. And gaps around tiled windows, you can adjust that too. I'm going to leave it the same. We're going to use tiling at some point, but no need. But if you do want to adjust that, you can when we get to tiling. Okay, so that's I guess wallpaper and theming. And I guess you can export this theme, and so other people could import it. And I guess you could import other people's themes. So this whole appearance, export and import, that's incredible. That's so much easier than any other Linux desktop that I've ever used. All right, so what else? We've done themes and wallpapers, light mode, dark mode. And yeah, wow, that's pretty good. So let's just get out of here and let's take a look at the dock down here. Now, the dock, all right, you have this searches, this will show apps that are open and your most recently used things, and you can search for stuff. You can search for all different things. I'm probably not going to use this a ton. Workspaces, so this looks very much like GNOME, especially their custom version of GNOME that they have in the previous version of Pop! OS. So you have your workspaces here, dynamic workspaces. So as soon as you open up a window on this other workspace, it creates a third workspace. So that's dynamic. As soon as it always has one empty workspace. So as soon as I start using this one, it's going to pop another one open. And you can turn that off and set it to a static number of workspaces, or you can just stick with dynamic. So there is a setting in there that controls that. Yeah, right clicking on the desktop still pops under. That's not right at all. Anyways, applications. So you can click on this. You have this workspaces and applications thing right here. You can click on them both at the same time. So you can search for applications. You have little folders down here, and you have all different applications up here that you can search for. And you can create your own groups like this. You could say test 1. There you go. There's a group test 1 right here, and you can place things in this group if you wanted to. So for example, okay, we have Office. So this comes with a LibreOffice pre-installed. What else? System, utilities, stuff like that. All the basic utilities you might expect. Let's try moving Firefox into test 1 if we want. So it's removed from here, and we put it inside test 1. So you can create your custom things. And I know the last GNOME desktop that I was working with, I had basically these folders are all mixed in here, and they're not all at the bottom here. I don't know if that's because it was a newer version of GNOME. I was trying this out on the last Cosmic. I don't know if it's because Pop! OS, if they customize it in Pop! OS, or I was just using an older version of GNOME or whatever, but this is just a different way of doing things. Anyways, you have applications and workspaces, right? Workspaces are basically just virtual desktops. So you can have a bunch of windows up and running. So you can have Firefox and this over here. You can switch over to this desktop and have completely different set of applications running here versus here. And by default, even if I switch to another workspace, the bar at the bottom still shows me all the windows that are open in the first workspace. I'm not sure if there's a way to configure that off the top of my head, but that's kind of an important thing to me. I only want to see things in the bar if they're on the workspace that I'm working in. So, so this workspace and applications button correspond to workspaces and applications right here, down in the bar here. So what else? You can right click on here, and okay, we have this bar at the top. Let's see. You can right click on, okay, I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to look at how to add applets to this. But you can, all right, this bar at the top, you have your calendar mini calendar built in, and you can probably go to, all right, you can go to settings. You have languages and keyboard settings right here. If you have multiple languages, it's going to list them all here, and you can select the language you want to be working in. You have this thing here for tiling and stuff. We'll come back to that in a little bit. You have your sound, microphone, so speaker, microphone, output, and you could go to sound settings and have a whole lot more detail. Bunch more you could adjust here. Anyways, network. All right, so we have an airplane mode. Wi-Fi is turned on. I know it's not configured. Visible Wi-Fi networks. All right, so you could select a network and configure it through there. Go to network settings, and I guess from here you could configure Wi-Fi here, or go back and configure your wired network, which I have right here. That's using DHCP anyways. And there's stuff for the VPN and stuff like that. You have notifications, Bluetooth, and you have log out, power, stuff like that. All right, super escape. So it tells you the shortcut right here, just like it should. Restart, power off, sleep. Okay, all sorts of nice stuff. All right, so that's pretty cool. All right, so we've gone over the dock. All right, applets. I'm not sure about. I'm actually not sure how you configure applets for the dock. All right, in any case, I'm going to go to applications, and I'm going to try to drag one of these on here. No dragging. Okay. Pin to app tray. Okay, you can pin it to the bottom nice and easy. You just can't drag it. That's kind of strange. You can't drag it. All right. Cosmic text editor. All right, let's try to drag this image mat. You can't drag these. I don't know why they make it that way. You can pin it to the tray if you want, and you can unpin it and quit. That one's not pinned, I guess. Okay, you could uncheck it here. I'm not sure why it's not letting me. Okay, you just it says it's checked, it's pinned. You can uncheck that, and that's how you would unpin this. Okay, that's all fine and great. I would have liked drag and drop, but no big deal. Let's see. Alt tab behavior is going to be like that. If you say Alt tab. All right, so this looks a little bit different from what I'm used to in GNOME, but you can Alt tab through your currently running things. And let's try opening more than one terminal. So new window. Let's have 3 terminals running and a few other things. You can Alt tab. When you're Alt tabbing through all of these windows, whether it's the same application or a different application. That's a little bit different from GNOME, whereas you would be just switching from application to application, and multiple windows in one application counts as one when you do Alt tab. Let's try Alt tilde. All right, nothing here. So this is kind of like a missing feature. This isn't terrible. This is like traditional Alt tab behavior, but Alt tilde is missing. So that's a little disappointing. I know on GNOME you can do Alt tilde, and it's going to switch between the windows of one application. You can either do Alt tilde by itself or do Alt tab and then Alt tilde, and it breaks it out into this nice little view. I know that was working on the old, that was working on the current long-term support version of Pop! OS. not working here. So I feel like that's kind of a downgrade. Let's see. We went over workspace. So workspaces. Oh, and you can pin workspaces. You can pin this here and pin this here, so the order won't change. You can drag them like this, and you can do vertical or horizontal if you want. Let's see. I should be able to find that pretty quick. Workspaces. Oops. Super key. Oh, you can configure the super key action. So open launcher, workspace, open applications, disable. Multi-monitor behavior, workspace spans display. Displays have separate workspaces. All right, horizontal. So you can do workspaces. I like this a little bit better. It just kind of feels right. I know it's convenient having it on the side. I guess I'm just used to horizontal. I'm going to stick with that for now. All right, so horizontal. You know what? Vertical works better. That's a better use of space, honestly. This feels weird, but it's better use of space, I think. All right, so that's pinning workspaces and Alt tab. You can do Alt tab or Super tab. Alt tab, Super tab, same thing. Okay. Whoops. All right, so probably anything that I feel like I'm missing is probably in here somewhere. All right, so let's see, what else do we need to look at? So I was really looking for dynamic workspaces. I'm not sure where that is off the top of my head. There should be something in here for that. I know it was in the previous version. Maybe they haven't implemented it in this version of in their new Cosmic desktop. I'm not sure. So active window, I should be able to search for it nice and easily. So I'm not seeing something in the configuration for workspace for setting static workspaces versus dynamic workspaces. So I'm not sure if I'm missing it or they haven't added it or what the deal is with that. So let's take a look at tiling versus floating. This is where it gets to be a little bit more exciting and interesting. So tiling versus floating. Right over here, we took a look at this a little bit ago. So we can tile the current workspace. We can just turn on tiling for this workspace and look at that. Everything is tiled. So all the windows are displayed at once and that they're automatically tiled like this, and you can move them around and navigate between them. One thing, so I checked only this workspace. I could have said new workspace behavior, set it to tiled, but it's floating. So what you can do is you can jump over to this workspace. This is not tiled, right? So you can, oops, okay. Let's jump back down here. I'm not used to that. All right, new window. Is that opening it on the wrong? Okay. Can I open a new window here? Okay. Here we go. That's because I had workspaces open. All right. So this one is not tiled at all. I can jump over here, all tiled, right? So tiled workspace, non-tiled workspace, right? So let's jump back up here. And if we select tiled as new workspace behavior, and then we jump down here, it's still not tiled because it's not a new workspace. But if I jump down to this one, this should be a new workspace. So create a new window. It's tiled by default. New window, tiled. So this one's tiled. So any new workspace will be tiled, right? Whereas this guy, not tiled. This guy's tiled, right? Okay, so that's the basic behavior, and this new one that's created will be tiled. So you have tiled, tiled, non-tiled, and tiled. So this is floating and tiled, right? So tiled workspace, we can turn that off like this for this workspace or turn it right back on. I like new workspaces to be floating by default. Now, to navigate windows, you can use super and arrows and then shift super arrows to move windows. And you can toggle floating window with super G. So super arrows, all right, super G. Okay, now we have tiling, but this window is floating. That's kind of nice. You can have one floating window with all of these. Nice, you can minimize and maximize that like normal. So this is a floating window while the rest of these are tiled. And you can do window or super G to make that tiled again, right? So that toggles tiling. Then you do super arrow key to switch between these tiled and to switch between desktops. Switch between desktops and tiled windows, right? So you can do super shift to move them around. So let's say if I'm on Firefox, right? I can switch spots between these, and I can also switch. Okay, that's interesting. I'm not sure how I switch it. Okay, I can switch it out of that group like this and swap it with this guy. Swap it on top like that. It's a little weird and unintuitive. I'm not used to tiling desktops, so this whole thing is very weird to me. But that's kind of neat how you can move those around, and you can see how that would be very convenient, how automatically tiles things. This is great for development where you might have a text editor here and a terminal over here and a browser over here where you're testing something out. For a lot of development workflows, this is going to work amazingly. And for certain things like general purpose use, it's probably not going to be the best thing. So it's kind of really nice that you can use tiling and floating desktops at the same, or workspaces at the same time. And the fact that you can turn it on and off at will is pretty nice too, right? So what else? Sorry. So we did toggling, moving, navigating, active hint. We already showed how you can turn that on and off. And what else? Window management settings. Okay. So I think we've already looked at this stuff. We've looked at most of that already. Anyways, what else should we be looking at? So we looked at, you can actually adjust, we already looked at this in the settings, but the gaps between these windows. So you can change the size of this orange highlight around the window. You can also change the gaps between these tiled windows. That's configurable too. You can set it to nothing if you want. I kind of like having a little bit of a gap if I'm going to be using tiling. I just feel like it looks visually nicer. So I'm going to keep that, but we looked at that before. All right, so what else? You can do super right click to resize. Okay, so if you want to resize these windows, you don't have to do it with your keyboard. You can use super, and so regular right clicking, you're right clicking on the window, right? And it looks like I can do that on multiple windows. That's a little weird, but okay. So to get that menu to go away, I can click on this window, left click, doesn't do anything. Left click here, that menu goes away. Never seen that before in every OS or desktop I've ever used. So what else? Okay, so You can drag these. So you super left click and you can drag these around. So you can just drag these windows around however you like. And I just, okay, not what I was trying to do. Yeah, I'm going to get, why is it doing that? All right. I know I can turn that off. That's another feature I'm going to show you in a little bit. That's stacking. But okay, so you can use Windows, drag, and I guess drag. If you do it the wrong way, you're going to stack them. But you can just drag the, see, I'm holding down the super button or the Windows key, and I'm just dragging these around with the left button. Now, if you want to resize them, hold the super key and right click, and you can just drag however you like. So I could drag these here. I can't drag left and right. I would have to go over to here, drag, and that's how I'd resize that, right? That's kind of neat. It's not as flexible as floating windows, but it's a lot faster and just organizes stuff for you really fast. So basically, super button and left click, or super button and right click. And the nice thing about this, so you can actually resize these without holding the super button. You have to get the mouse right on the edge. It's not that hard to grab, but you can click on it with your left. You can left click on it and resize it, but you have to get it right on the right spot. So if you want to be quick and efficient, hold super key and right click, and you can click almost anywhere on the window. You don't have to be right on the edge. It's a lot easier to drag and adjust everything, right? So, all right, we've done super right click on the, otherwise on the edge, the arrow keys to switch applications and to move around. So we've done moving around, all that stuff, down for different, yeah, so up and down for a different workspace. Okay, so I guess if we have vertical, if you're not switching between, and look at this, floating windows, you can cycle through floating windows using, okay, so if you hold the super key or the Windows key and use the arrows, you can cycle through left, right, or up and down. You can cycle through floating windows as well as these tiled windows. That is pretty neat. And if you're at the right spot, down, we'll go to this desktop, and then you cycle through these, pressing down, and then down to this desktop. That is that's pretty neat. So I keep calling these workspaces desktops. Same idea, right? All right, now one more interesting thing I wanted to show you. So let's see. Super S for tiling. So you can tile things, basically setting them up with tabs. And by the way, this terminal, you can click this plus button. You can add a tab to the terminal. So you have a tab terminal, non-tabbed and tabbed. That's built in. So what I'm going to show you is you can take anything. All right, I'm going to open up another separate terminal just to illustrate this and drag this guy over here. All right, so I'm going to click on this and I'm going to say Super S, and then I just added stacking mode, right? So you see how it's highlighted like this, and you see this little stack thing in the corner here. Now, Super S will get you out of stacking mode. Super S gets you in stacking mode, right? And so this means you can stack another window. So you grab another window, like, oh, why is it doing that? I want to grab this I want to grab this terminal. Okay, that's not right. Okay, I'm going to grab this guy. I don't know why it won't let me grab that other terminal. I can grab this file manager right here and, okay, stack windows like that, okay? And it behaves a little bit different when it's floating. The last time I tried that was in floating mode, and you have to, when you're in floating mode, you have to get right over this bar up at the top here. I guess when it's not in floating mode, when it's in tiling mode, you just drag it until it says start stacking, right? So here we have a file manager and a terminal, both in a stacked window right here. So this window has what you would call tabs, I guess. It's effectively tabs, but they're different applications stacked together in tabs in one window here. And as you break it apart like that, or, okay. I guess that's just letting me move it, maybe because I'm in tiled mode. All right, anyways, you get two tabs right here. terminal and file manager. Kind of interesting. Now notice the tabs in this terminal. These are built into the app. This is something different from tiling. But let's drag this over here. And when we place it on here, see, normally you're moving it around, it tries to adjust things around, right? But if you hold it right over the center of the app, it'll say stack windows, and you can stack it on there. Now this gets even more interesting because you have tabs within tabs. It's like tab inception or something. So you have your file manager, you have your terminal with no tabs, you have this tab over here that is a terminal with tabs inside here. So you can have tabs inside this terminal, inside this tab in this window, which is a whole separate window in this tiled desktop. That's pretty neat, right? I could see there being use cases for this. Like, say if you need, maybe you have one folder that has all the files in a project that you're working on. Every now and then you need to check them or click on them. Then another one that has, you just need a terminal in your project directory, and another one that's running like a service from your project directory, and you just need it to stay running and restart it every now and then, and another tab for like uploading stuff and syncing things. You have all your stuff for like managing your project here. Then in another window over here, you have your actual code that you're writing, where you're actually editing code. And then over here, you might have some documentation, or this might be your website that you're trying to preview. So you're previewing your web app, and then you have another tab where you have some documentation. You have like your actual code in a Vim editor in this terminal here, and then a bunch of other things here, like a service running in the foreground out of your project directory. I can just foresee this being really useful. It's a type of workflow I use a lot. So I could see this being really great, but then a lot of times for a lot of stuff I do, I prefer something like this, right? So depending on what you're doing and how you need things to be set up, and you know what's nice? You can just go over to here, Super S. Yeah, okay, that's for stacking. What popped this out? Was it Super G? Okay, Super G will pop this out. So you can have a full, you can resize this as you please. And you can actually okay. You have that extra easy resizing. Even when this is not tiled, you can do super right click from almost anywhere in the window. You don't have to click on the edge, and you can resize it. Super useful, super useful feature. And yeah, this is an incredible desktop. And with this floating window, you can make this window big if you want. And you can alt tab over. Okay, alt tab behavior in a tiled desktop is a little weird. Okay. In any case, you can super G this back to a tiled window at however you feel like doing it, right? That's incredibly flexible and useful. All right, so toggle. All right, so we've done that. All right, super W. What did super W do? I made a note that okay, this is workspaces. Super W for workspaces. This is the quick way to get into your workspaces. I guess I don't know the key to switch to a different workspace, but okay, I can click on them anyways. I'm sure there's a shortcut to do that. All right, so get out of there. All right, Super W to check workspaces, right? And if you want to get into applications, you can do Super A. This brings up your application search thing here. You can search for applications, look at your folders you created, stuff like that. Pretty useful. Super A and Super W. Okay, so what else do we have? So we have just Super by itself, brings up this this launcher thing here. I don't really like that as much. I probably wouldn't be using it. That shows what's running right now, and you can search through them. That's all fine and great, but I don't know, it doesn't feel right to me. So you can do Super 1. Okay, this is how you quickly switch to workspaces. Super 1, Super 2, we'll search this one. 4, 3, 1, 2. So, okay, it's just the Super key or the Windows key and the number of the workspace that you want. If you know the number, you're good. If not, you'd go to here and check the number of the workspace. Workspace 1, 2, 3, and 4. So like Super 3 will get you to workspace 3. And you can probably, can you rename these? I don't know. There's probably a way to rename those. I'm not sure how. All right, so Super. All right. Alt F4 will not kill something. So if you want to kill an application, Alt F4 does nothing. There's a whole new shortcut for this. It is Super Q. Okay, that's like in Mac OS. It's Command Q in Mac OS. So the Super button or the Windows key on a PC keyboard is actually the same key as the Command key on an Apple keyboard. So if you plug in, interesting trivia thing here, if you plug in a PC keyboard into a Mac, the Windows key actually does the same thing, that acts as your Command key. And on an Apple keyboard, your Alt button and your Windows key are swapped around. That Windows key is your Command button, and it's right next to the space bar. On an Apple keyboard, totally different from a PC keyboard. Interesting stuff, right? So let's see what else. I'm really liking Pop OS. This is really nice. I could see using this in production, even though it's alpha. I could see you daily driving this. I'm honestly not sure if I should use Pop OS or just install this. It's still going to be an alpha desktop, but I should install it on like Arch or Gentoo or so. I know it's available on Gentoo. I'm not sure what I want to do. All right, so we did Super Q to kill things, just like Mac OS. It's going to take time to get used to that. When I'm on a Mac, I'm used to using Super Q or Command Q. When I'm on Windows or Linux, I like using Alt F4 on most distros, most desktops. That's working. Yeah, it's good to keep you on your toes with different shortcuts, though. So with this, I think it's worth learning any of the new shortcuts for this Cosmic desktop. This is pretty nice. All right, so stack windows from different. All right, so we different tabs, stack windows from different apps like tabs in a web. All right, I think I did that one. Yeah, that's what I was supposed to go over that. I did that. So grab a window from anywhere. All right, I've done that too. I've done resizing windows. All right, so what else do we have? Sticky windows. Okay, so set important windows to always be present even after switching to another workspace. Okay, so you can set certain windows to always be present. You know what? I'm going to just go ahead and switch back to here. Oh, what workspace? All right. I'm going to switch back to this workspace, and I'm going to switch back to floating for now. Now, let's say if you want something to always be present. All right, bookmark, select. I'm not sure. I'm not sure the feature that does this. Yeah, Super S, create a window stacks. You can right click to do that as well. Sticky window right here. So you can set this terminal to be a sticky window. Now that is going to be on every workspace. So jump down here. You still got this sticky window. So so we can identify it. Whoops. All right, let's just do top. No H top by default. Okay. So you can go down to this. All right. You can go up here. You still got this window. Down here, you still got it. Still got it. Still got it. So you bring your web browser or terminal or whatever with you everywhere you go. And that's pretty neat. I honestly can't see using that unless you want something to behave like a widget or something. I can't see that being super useful. You could put it beneath some, it's going to be on top of everything else too. No, it isn't. You can put something on top of it. Not this. For some reason, I can't drag. Oh, this does behave a little weird. Okay, clicking here, I can't click on the tab. Okay, still, this doesn't want to be under that. Even if I click on that, yeah, for whatever reason, the terminal, if it's pinned, it's going to stay on top of this always. This guy, I can move it. Yeah, okay, that's just how it behaves. I can't see this being super useful anyways. So I'm going to turn sticky windows off on here, and I'm curious if I can use it on the browser. So the browser, I think it overrides it with customized, this is a customized Firefox menu. Similar deal with Chrome and other browsers. You right click on it, it doesn't give you the normal window context menu. It just does this silliness. All right. If you click over here, okay, so clicking here gives you the normal silliness. You click over here, normal Firefox silliness here. Click over here, and no, you got to click in just the right spot. How did I even? Okay, right here. And you can set sticky windows on there. So you could then switch to whatever thing and still have your browser open. If for some reason you have to monitor what's on your browser, and I'll bet there's a shortcut that does this. All right, sticky window. It should tell me the shortcut if there is one. All right, so all right, so I've done sticky windows. Not a feature I'm probably going to use. So we've looked at the launcher, some of the software that comes with, and custom folders, stuff like that. Okay, let's look at some of the software that comes with this, because a lot of this is new. Like the basic core utilities are things that come with this new Cosmic desktop. They're specifically designed in Rust as the new tools to replace the GNOME tools, right? So they come with the desktop, besides the regular, system utilities and nice stuff that comes along with this, like disk tool. What disk tool is this? Is this still GNOME disk? It probably is, I would imagine. About GNOME disk utility. Great utility, absolutely love it. They don't need to replace it. If they made it look more pretty and did the same thing, I guess I'd be okay with that. All right, so some of the things that come here, we have the Cosmic Terminal. So this terminal, Cosmic Terminal, right? So usually one of the first things I want to do, you can split it into all that kind of stuff. Color schemes, Cosmic Dark. They probably only have, you can export and import themes. So you can choose between light and dark, okay? That should be I would think that would override everything. All right, about Cosmic Terminal. All right, anyways, this is the terminal that it comes with. So what else do we want to do? Theme, match desk. Okay, we have to tell it to, it's matching desktop right now, which is neither dark or, it's dark, but I set it to this custom weird blue look. This looks amazing too. It's so nice how it's all consistent too. I gotta wonder if I could install a KDE app in here, if it's gonna look consistent with these, because it's using a different toolkit. I'm actually kind of curious about that. You know what? Before I go any further, we have to do that. All right, sudo apt install Kate. Whoops. Alrighty, I'm not sure why it's saying depackage was interrupted. You must manually depackage. I'm not sure. I've never run into that. I hope that's not a weird issue with. I'm gonna do what it's telling me. This is strange. Maybe this is a bug. Maybe this is just something I'm not familiar with. Okay, so can I install Kate now? Okay, let's install Kate, my favorite text editor from KDE. I've been using for like probably the last 23, 24 years. I switched between that, gedit, and a bunch of other things, but that's one of my favorites is Kate. It's taking longer than it should to install something like this, probably because it's installing a bunch of KDE prerequisites like Plasma Framework. That's probably why it takes a while. All right, Kate. Oh, that's terrible. That is terrible. Look at this. Okay, so it's not perfect, right? We have a light theme here. We would probably have to go in and configure KDE themes. Probably have to install the settings thing for this and set a KDE theme. Fortunately, there are some pretty beautiful KDE themes, but we would have to set KDE themes independently for KDE applications. So they're just not taking it. All right, do we have gedit? Gedit, okay. Let's go ahead and install gedit. I'm assuming this one's going to use the same theme, but let's see. Gedit. Okay, gedit is using the same theme, I guess because this Cosmic desktop is compatible enough with GNOME that it's able to just take, they're able to share themes. That's probably the case. gedit is nice. And I believe they've in the more recent versions of GNOME, they replaced it with something they just call edit. I'm not sure why they replaced gedit. It's the silliest thing ever, but I believe that's what they're doing now. Just like with files, and they're renaming it to something simple, like just called edit. And they renamed the file manager to files. Weird, silly stuff GNOME does, although it's still a beautiful desktop, and I still like it. Yeah, but Kate, look at that. Kate does not match. This one, that's really disappointing. Still, though, there's plenty of built-in stuff here. I don't really need to worry about that too much. And when I need to run an app for KDE, I can just configure those separately. It's not the end of the world. Same thing you'd run into with Ubuntu or any other, any other distro where you're running things from different toolkits, right? So, anyways, your terminal right here, match desktop. We can just say run dark, or we could, okay, cosmic dark. Okay, light. We can set it to light. So all our terminals are going to be light. That looks horrible. I can't deal with that. That's already hurting my eyes. All right, so dark. Color scheme. Okay. Dark color scheme. Okay, so I guess you could have multiple color schemes for dark or light. Background opacity. One of the number one things. So yeah, one of the number one things you'd probably want to do, one of the first things I like to do is set transparency or background opacity. And that just jumped into this other terminal here. All right. Yeah, this is one of the first things I want to change when I change the theme on a terminal. And then the other thing is just going to be the font color, right? So advanced, usually there should be some preset thing. Advanced font settings. It might be worth actually looking at fonts, but this looks pretty nice. So I'm not seeing I'm not seeing anything to change the color here. Nothing obvious. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe they don't have it. Maybe that's the color scheme. I have to edit this color scheme in order to, so I probably have to edit this color scheme or create a new one in order to change the colors here. I'm thinking that's it. Color schemes. So that's in settings. You can go into color schemes. Light, dark. Okay. Maybe they haven't implemented this yet. It doesn't look like there's anything super obvious here. You can export. Okay. You could probably edit this and then import it, which would be worth doing. Would be kind of nice. You could move your settings from one system to another. I don't see anything here where you can easily just edit this. So maybe that's something new that's going to come when they finish this in beta or production. But color schemes don't seem easily be editable. So it's kind of an issue there. Did not see anything under color schemes or settings. Okay. All right. At least I got transparencies working. That looks pretty nice here. It's a little more, one thing is it's a little bit more cluttered if you have a lot of stuff behind it. You don't want it to be too transparent, but it looks nice when it's transparent, but it's a little harder to read. So if you get the right balance, you can make it look perfect and you'll feel really good about it. I'd want this to be green so it pops out and it stands out a little bit more. I like syntax highlighting, but your standard text rather than white, I feel like a brighter green is the right way to go. So what else? So that is the terminal. It's a whole new terminal. They're no longer using GNOME terminal. They are using the Cosmic terminal, a fresh, brand new created thing from the Pop! OS team, right? So the file manager. So Cosmic Files. Let's just open up, I guess, any one of these. Let's pull this guy out here. This is the file manager. So no more Nautilus or any other No more Nemo, no more Nautilus. You could install Nemo if you want, but this is Cosmic Files. So Cosmic Files, there's the about on it. It's pretty standard stuff. View. All right, there should be. It would be nice if they had a little button here that let you switch between icons and. But you can click on this thing to remove this sidebar here. I would think they would have. You can do tabs here too, which you would expect, standard functionality. Create new files, edit. Okay. Zoom in, default. Okay, list view and grid view. Okay, that makes sense. That's icons and list. Okay. And list view is going to give you the details. And I don't know if you can add different columns here. You should be able to. Okay, so this is nice. Okay. So one thing that makes a big difference, so this bar here that shows you where you are, like say if you jump into videos, you're in home videos, that's not the full actual path. So you can click on this and you can navigate by clicking. It's nice to have something visual like this, but if you want to type in the actual path, hit this edit thing and it gives you home user one videos, the actual path. So you could get to your actual root directory if you want to look around your system. And from here, you could go to like you just type in Etsy if you want and just go there, right? That's nice to be able to do. All right, just clicking on that works actually. I'd like to kill this and just open a fresh one. All right, I have the bar here. If I just click here, okay, you know what? You don't even have to click on this little edit thing here. You can click on the edit button if you want. You can just click on this and it edits it, right? Because I guess that's like a... So if I jumped into here, you can click on desktop. Okay, it wasn't working like that before. All right, you can click on home. If you click on desktop, I guess it knows that's what it's supposed to do. If you click on home, it doesn't know. Here, it knows you want to edit it. Here, it knows you want to edit. If you just click on here, it thinks, oh, I want to go back to the parent directory. Then you click on it and it says, oh, well, you're not going back a directory. You must want to edit it. So it intelligently chooses what to do. So this is kind of nice. This is similar to Nemo. Nemo, you can just click on here and click or double click and you can edit the path directly. Here, you can do it just about as easily. Same thing. So this is at least as nice as Nemo. And it definitely beats, I think Nautilus is what GNOME is using now. I forget what the default thing on GNOME is these days, but it's better than what the default that comes with the current GNOME is. So there's that. Yeah, although you could install Nautilus on GNOME, you could probably install this on GNOME too. But Cosmic Files, excellent file manager, nice and practical, does what you might want. You don't have you could probably add custom shortcuts too, but you don't have one that brings you right to your root. So it is important being able to edit this. And what else is in here? Show details. Okay. All right. That's just going to show details on whatever file is highlighted there. I guess you could right click on things and rename, compress. Okay. Show details. Doesn't want to, there we go. You can see permissions, stuff like that. So basic standard functionality that you would expect, right? So that's the terminal, that is the file manager. Let's take a look at the text editor that comes with it. Cosmic text editor, standard text editor. You can edit text files and codes, stuff like that. You should have a little side thing here so you can look at projects and stuff. This is nice, smooth, beautiful looking. Not a lot of extra clutter or anything. And you can create a new file. You get tabs in here too, just like you would expect. All the normal stuff. Git management, undo, redo, etc., etc. Find in project. So you can do find in the document you're in. Replace, so search and replace. And then you could do find in project, search across all the files in your project. So you'd have a project here and okay, I guess that's going to treat the folder like a project. That's what that is very nice. This is like a nice minimal IDE almost. That's nice. I like that. I would need to play with this a little bit more. One thing I would like to be able to do is search through file names, because some projects will have hundreds of files. I want to search through them, or at least filter them and only display what I need. I haven't found something that works very well for that. Even like Visual Studio just does not want to do it the right way. Doesn't want to behave the way I want. Anyways, what else? Settings. All right, not a whole lot I want to do. Syntax dark, syntax light, fonts. All right, standard simple stuff. You do Vim bindings. Let's see here. Oops. That is not highlighting my syntax for me. I don't know if it's supposed to, or you need to add something on, or they haven't implemented it. Syntax highlighting is kind of simple. This feels nice. And unlike things like Atom, this isn't like a web-based thing. This is a nice thing, not just implemented in a real desktop language. It's implemented in Rust. It's nice and smooth and beautiful. Love it, but I'm going to need syntax highlighting. I don't know if they're going to add that later, or you have to add it as a plugin, or what the deal is, but I don't know. It says syntax dark and light. I mean, I would think that would be like the theme, but does that include syntax highlighting? I don't know. Or maybe it's something to come, or maybe it'll never be included. I have no idea. But you would think this would be highlighted a little bit differently, right? Anyways, that's it. That is their text editor. All right, cutting away for this quick clip right here. I actually realized this much later, but it does have syntax highlighting built in. Apparently, it has been here for a while. So in their text editor, see, you have syntax highlighting if you open a saved file. Now, if you create a new file and let's say copy this text here, paste it into the new file. Now, even though you save the file with the correct extension, it's not going to highlight your syntax automatically like you would expect with most other text editors. So see here, I save this as test3.py for a Python file, no syntax highlighting, right? So I close those, and I'm going to go ahead and open this again. So open file, and I'm going to open test3.py, and there you go, syntax highlighting. So you have to open the file. It's not enough to just save it with an extension. You have to open it. So we got the terminal text editor. See, they may as well look. They have the Cosmic Media Player. Nothing too crazy. So you can open up video or audio files. I don't have any on this PC, but I assume this, if it's not good, you can just get VLC or something. So no big deal. But maybe that'll turn out to be a good media player. I don't have any media on here. The only other things I wanted to look at, all right, so settings and the App Store, right? And updates. All right, so settings. This is our settings. We have like displays, sound. We looked at most of the stuff. Balanced, all the standard stuff. Default applications, standard setting stuff. Nothing super exciting here. We've been through a lot of this already. And this is their Cosmic Store, right? Now, we've already seen how you can install things using apt. All right, that's NeoFetch. I installed Kate and gedit with apt. So this took a minute the first time, just to refresh. And here we go. I'm going to kill this and launch it again. And then my second time launching it, it starts pretty quick. So you got a lot of nice things. Lutris, Visual Studio Code, Spotify, whatever goofy stuff you might be into. Let's take, and there you have some different categories here. You can go to updates to see what, check for updates, see if anything needs to be updated. What else? System packages, you could update system packages, and you update all, check for updates. Okay, what else? Go through different categories: games, learning, development. A lot of nice stuff that you can just get. Cura, great for 3D printing and stuff. All right, so I'm gonna try something. GIMP. Okay, So this, I like to have this on basically every system I ever set up, whether it be a Mac, Windows system, Linux system. I pretty much always use it. I can see why people wouldn't install it by default, but I like to. I always like to have it. This is a good example of something to install. So we click on the GIMP, and actually when we searched, it only had this one thing. All right. This is from FlatHub by default. You can just click install and it's going to install. It gives you like a description and a screenshot. This is the most recent version of the GIMP. This is pretty recent, May 17th, so like last month, and is about slightly over a month old, and it is version 304, which I know is the most recent. I don't know if they have another point release for bugs or something. This is pretty close to the latest version. And let's see, so you can install it from FlatHub or system. I'm betting this has got to be a lot older, although this is alpha, so maybe they have the latest for it. Nope. They have a version from 2023. So this alpha version is based, so it's 2020. This is based on a slightly older version of Ubuntu, which at the time would have included an older version of GIMP. So it makes sense that you don't have the newest, latest, and greatest GIMP. I know they did recently make the jump from version 2 to version 3 GIMP. But yeah, this is version 2.10.34. It's a couple years old now. So this is what you get if you are installing the system package. So system, but you have the choice. This is the key thing is, so you have the old version and a newer version. But the key thing is that you, actually this has different screenshots and everything for this version, which makes sense. New icon with the new version. Okay, so much newer version. But the key thing is that it gives you a choice. System, that's a .dev package, and it's going to use the apt package manager. So it's using apt, and it installs DEB files. So native system packages, you can choose that, or FlatHub, right? Install a Flatpak from FlatHub. You can do either one of these, right? So the key thing is it just gives you the choice, right? Let's try installing that. Now, we could have installed that from the command line using apt or using the Flatpak command. Let me see, we have these Flatpaks installed right now. And this thing is on the way. So you can use the command line, Flatpak. You can use apt. So you have your command line package managers in addition to the store here. Not sure why that was delaying there. Maybe because it's busy with it. I don't know. Maybe network lag, because sometimes when things are pulled down on the network, it causes other things. Yeah, I would bet that's it, because I'm downloading that. Anyways, GIMP is installed now. I could uninstall it or open it. We'll take a look at that in a sec. So yeah, you can use app. You can use Flatpak. No snaps, so Pop! OS is snap free. They're using Flatpak instead. Let's see, dpackage. Let's see if the dpackage thing command is there. dpkg-l. So dpackage is there. So you have your traditional dpackage command, dpackage-l. So this is here. So yeah, that's basically it. Let's just try running GIMP, right? All right. This is a little bit. I don't know why I can't search for GIMP. That is not right. I mean, maybe I'm missing something obvious here. it's a flat pack. So I can find it there. I know I can just type it in the terminal and run it. It's always slow no matter what system you're running it on. But here you go. Here's the GIMP. Looks nice. I'm going to kill that GIMP and run it. You know what? Maybe I need a new terminal because of my path. Or maybe this is something weird with flat packs where you need to run a flat pack command to launch the GIMP. I'm not sure. I'm a little bit new to flat packs. I mostly just use apt. But let's see. I'm not finding GIMP here. This is a little unsettled. I'm not sure if this is just me missing something or what the deal is. But yeah, I can search here, GIMP, and it's going to run it. Clicking here, it knows how to launch it one way or another. So that's interesting. I have a little bit to learn in regards to flat packs. But there you go. That's how you can install and run the GIMP. Nice practical thing. And I believe that's everything I wanted to show you for this new alpha version of Pop! OS 24.04, and everything I wanted to show you for the new Cosmic Desktop Alpha 7 version of this Cosmic Desktop. Hopefully the beta version will be coming out soon, and hopefully it'll be ready for prod soon. And probably they're going to add some features, polish some things up. They're definitely adding things there. They have a list of what they're working on, so it'll get better. Honestly, in its current state, unless you absolutely need everything to be perfect, I think this is kind of worth using already. I mean, there's some nice desktops already for Linux. I don't need to use it yet, but with all these nice features and the productivity it brings, I think it's kind of worth using. I think I'm going to be using this desktop. Maybe on Pop! OS. I haven't decided yet, but this is pretty cool. I'm pretty thrilled with this. But if you found this video interesting or useful, maybe you want to give me a thumbs up for this. If you want to see more videos like this, more Linux videos, more Pop! OS videos, and Ubuntu, Arch, Gentoo, everything, all the different distros. We're trying out lots of different distros and showing you how to do things in each distro. We're doing a lot of Linux stuff, but we're still doing like Mac OS stuff and Windows stuff. We're covering all the OSs. Basically, everything's within scope to this channel. We do lean towards Linux more than other things just because that's how it goes with this channel, but we're trying to cover everything tech related. So we're doing software, hardware, coding, servers, desktops, 3D printing, robots, Raspberry Pis, electronics, networking, all that great tech stuff. If you're into that kind of stuff, definitely hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you don't miss our next video. But that's about it for today. So as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys on that next video.